With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey. This is a bunch of stuff, deal.
What does that mean, a bunch of stuff?
Well, it means it's simply inaccurate.
It's Irish.
It's Irish. It is. We Irish call it malarkey.
Thanks for the translation.
No,
Okay.
We Irish call it malarkey.
You know what this is? Yeah, and I reserve this word for those rare instances when it's truly deserved. This is malarkey.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
Direct from the King Spring Studios in beautiful Smyrna, Georgia. This is a bunch of malarkey. Now, here's your host, the incredible Charlie McMahon.
Thank you to the legendary Scott Shannon for that introduction, and thanks to all of you for tuning in to yet another episode of A Bunch of Malarkey. Yes, we are coming to you from the quarantined King Spring studio, the isolated, whatever you want to call it. But you know the deal, folks. We're all self-quarantining, social distancing, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're doing. Want to know how you're holding up? I put a little message out to all the listeners on a Facebook page the other day asking how you were doing. A lot of you replied, so good to see that everybody is holding it together, holding down the fort while we go through this wacky time. Sheltering in place, trying to get our supplies and food. It's totally crazy. But I've never seen anything like this, but neither of any of us, for that matter. So we'll get through it together. But I do have to say, I am a little pissed off at some people. Now, we're sitting here, most of us, I'd say the majority of people out there are doing what they can, staying home. I know some people's jobs don't allow them to stay home, obviously. Medical personnel, police, fire people, people who work in grocery stores. There's some services where you have to go to work, you have to leave the house. But there are a lot of jobs right now that are allowing people to stay home, and they're urging you, now that your kids are home from school, to stay home. If you only go out, if you have to go out for your groceries, doctor's appointment, whatever, something essential. But I still see on the news and in the neighborhood people gathering together, laughing it up. What is wrong with people? Can't we sacrifice for a couple of weeks? Where's the sacrifice, folks? Where is it? People can't even stay home for 2 weeks. Now, if this happened 30, 40 years ago, I can understand the cabin fever, right? No internet. The only thing you had 30 or 40 years ago was a radio and a television, okay? Nowadays, you have the internet. You have Netflix, Hulu, all these different streaming sites. You have everything at your disposal. You have Skype, FaceTime if you want to talk to someone. So many different ways to stay connected to people, yet there are so many people who just don't get it and go out there gathering in groups. I don't understand it. I mean, you can't make a sacrifice for 2 or 3 weeks. Anne Frank was hidden away for 2 years, hiding from the Nazis. 2 years. You people can't stay inside for 2 weeks? Really? It just bothers me. Again, the majority of people out there, good people, smart, doing what they're asked to do by the state, local governments. And I applaud you for it, folks. But those of you who still can't stay home for 2 weeks, you bitch that I wish I had a job that let me work from home. Now you're allowed to work from home and you're still fucking complaining. I mean, come on, folks. Again, I know the majority of you are doing what you're supposed to do, and thank you. And the society thanks you. The world thanks you. But for those, 10, 20% of people on spring break, still getting on airplanes, still acting like mutants, shame on you. The longer you go out there, the longer the rest of us are going to have to be isolated in the house. The longer people are not going to have their incomes. The longer the economy is going to be in the shitter. So think about other people before you think about yourself. That's all I'm going to say about it. It really, really pissed me off seeing these kids on spring break. And it's not just teenagers. I'm not going to single out the millennials or Generation Z or whatever you call these different generations, because it's not just one generation doing it. I see people my age out and about, huddling up, talking to people, kids still coming over other kids' houses in the neighborhood. I saw one neighbor, his grandchildren and daughter and son-in-law came to visit him. They're hugging and in the driveway. Come on, folks. Smarten up. Smarten up, folks. The only way we're going to get through this is if we all do our part. And we're not asking you to do your part. Like, we're not asking you to go to war. You know, when we say make a sacrifice for the betterment, we're not asking you to suit up and go fight a war. We're asking you to stay home and watch Netflix. Go in your backyard. The state and local governments aren't asking you to do anything crazy. They're asking you to sit home on your couch and watch TV. Go on the computer. You know, you want something to do? Listen to my episode from 3 weeks ago about cleaning house. There's a whole list of shit you can clean in your house. There's a million things you could do. Get your closets ready for spring. To one of my neighbors, clean your fucking yard, because you've been living there a year now. New neighbors. Remember I told you about these new neighbors a year ago? They moved in. Kids running around barefoot out there and all the debris last year. Well, they put garbage in bags last April. Those bags are still sitting out there. I saw the guy the other day raking around these bags. It's like they're nailed to the ground. You want something to do? Clean your yard. Plant a garden. Clean your house. There's a million things to do. If you want to be lazy, watch TV. Nothing against that. But don't go out. So that's my message for you. This week, it angers me because there are a lot of people out there hurting right now. Restaurant workers, bartenders, people who can't go to work, people who don't have an income right now. And those people can't get their income and their livelihood back until you selfish pricks, and you know who you are, start staying home and doing your part. So that's all I'm going to say about social distancing and doing the right thing. You guys know, again, the majority of you know what the right thing is, and the rest of you may need to look in the mirror. Again, need something to do? Clean your yard. I have a whole laundry list of things you could be doing in your house. Cleaning. Go back a few weeks. Cleaning house was the title of the episode. Million things to do. So speaking of neighbors, you know, how often have you ever called the police on on your neighbors? I don't think I ever have. Maybe a long time ago when it was a loud party at 3 in the morning. But multiple police departments in Southern California say that they've been receiving 911 calls left and right from residents concerned about their coughing neighbors who they think may have the coronavirus. The phone calls have increased concurrently with the number of coronavirus cases in the Riverside and San Bernardino County areas in California. Sergeant Mike Cassavan of the Palm Springs Police Department told the media on Monday that dispatchers have received at least 5 of these types of calls over the last week. Police Commander Paul Herrera of neighboring Cathedral City said dispatchers have received similar calls. Dispatchers there have been instructed to ask each caller whether the person they were calling about had recently returned from a trip abroad, but as the outbreak grew worse, they began asking the callers whether the person has had contact with someone who has tested positive for the coronavirus. Given the circumstances, authorities have been treating each call seriously. In most cases, paramedics are dispatched to the area to provide necessary medical attention before transporting a person to the hospital. Neil Gallucci, chief of the Carlsbad Police Department, said the coronavirus has made authorities extra vigilant to avoid a scenario in which a coronavirus patient infects a first responder who then spreads the infection to other first responders. If that happens enough, we worry about calls for service, he said. We are prepared to deal with issues that come up, but it's a concern chiefs worry about, of course. Now, I don't know. I've never considered, even if my next door neighbor right now, I heard them coughing incessantly in their yard, I wouldn't call the police. Isn't that up to them if they feel sick to call someone and say, I might have the corona? I don't think I'd be calling unless they were coughing over the fence at me. I don't know. I don't know why people, because they hear a neighbor calling or flooding the police lines with calls about this. So it's getting crazy out there. Now, be honest. How much toilet paper do you have? You still can't get toilet paper. Now, I had bought a 36-roll pack at Costco about a week to 2 weeks before any of this went down. Just on my bi-weekly or monthly Costco run. Just happened to buy it, so I'm set with toilet paper. And again, we went over this last week. How much toilet paper are you going to use? Hop in the shower, wipe out your ass with the shower nozzle. Bidet your ass with the shower nozzle. But what would you do if you got a nice little stash of toilet paper, thinking you were all set, and it got destroyed somehow in the house? Well, it happened to a woman. You know, this toilet paper has caused panic buying of a lot of things. Water, cleaning supplies. You still can't get Clorox wipes or anything like that. And, of course, the highly coveted toilet paper. People panic buying too much makes the shelves empty, as you notice, which makes people think, I need to buy this before it's gone, and then causes the average person who normally wouldn't hoard to do so. One mom bought 18 rolls of toilet paper, 2 9-packs, and she was horrified to find them all dissolving in the bathtub. The woman's children were playing in the bathroom, thought it would be funny to throw all their toys and toilet paper into the bathtub and turn on the water. So there went her 18 rolls of toilet paper. The woman's friend posted the picture on Twitter and said, my friend bought 2 9-packs of toilet paper and her kids put them in the bath. Twitter users immediately responded. Serves her right for hoarding, one Twitter user said. And another person said that it was a shameful waste. First, shame on her for stockpiling, depriving others of buying some. And second, they've all gone to waste. This is not funny. Now, I don't think 18 rolls of toilet paper on hand is hoarding. You know, anything more than that, I'd say 24. Well, it really depends on when you bought it. I bought 36-roll pack 2 weeks before this went down. So I still may have 30 rolls. So am I a hoarder? I didn't buy it during the crisis, but I had it in advance. So tell us, folks, in the comments, what do you think the definition of hoarding toilet paper? How many rolls on hand do you have to be considered a motherfucker? How many rolls do you have to have where you'd say this person violated the strict no motherfucker policy and is indeed a motherfucker? So let us know in the comments what actually constitutes hoarding of toilet paper during this crisis. How many rolls? Now, a restaurant in Virginia is giving a little something on the side. Now, you know restaurants are only doing takeout right now, most of the country. There's restrictions in place where you either pick it up curbside or they'll deliver it. Now, it's a one-stop shop for the modern age and these modern times. A Norfolk, Virginia restaurant is killing 2 birds with 1 stone by including a complimentary roll of toilet paper with every takeout order. Wow. Could you imagine this in normal times? Giving out toilet paper with your food, basically saying you're going to shit your pants after you eat this. So we're covering 2 birds with 1 stone. But this is a different time we're living in. The Handsome Biscuit restaurant announced on Monday that all orders picked up from its fried chicken-centric menu would be accompanied by a roll of bathroom tissue while supplies last. They said they stockpiled 100 rolls. We had some extra, and we thought we should spread the love, the Handsome Biscuit advertised. The eatery closed its dining room amid the coronavirus outbreak that has infected 77 people and killed 2 in Virginia. But the Handsome Biscuit continues to provide pickup and delivery service from one of its 2 operations, and as of Tuesday night, they still had 60 rolls of toilet paper ready to be given away. The demand for toilet paper throughout the coronavirus pandemic appears to be a result of self-fulfilling panic, and there is no shortage production of bathroom tissue. So there actually is no shortage production of bathroom tissue. It's just people are losing their fucking minds over this. Now, it's time to be honest, folks. Now, think about it. What are you hoarding right now? Everybody's got a little stash of something that they like during these difficult times. It doesn't have to be toilet paper. Now, many of us are working from home with businesses and schools across the country closing to help stop the spread, flatten the curve, if you will. Now, people are stocking up at the stores, what through online, grocery, Instacart. And it seems some people seem to forget what they need or even what they want when they're filling their carts up. Delish took to Instagram to ask people what their weirdest panic purchases have been so far, And people were happy to confess. Here are some of the funniest ones. A man said it was a case of Spam, and he hasn't eaten Spam in 34 years, but he felt having a case of Spam would make him feel secure. A 30-pack of eggs, which isn't so bad, except she already had 2 dozen at home, so a woman now has 54 eggs. A mom of 3 bought 8 massive bottles of ketchup because she says, I can't go through the apocalypse with 3 kids and not have any ketchup. Pop-Tarts for a woman who admits she hasn't eaten Pop-Tarts since she was a small child. One woman stocked up on Chef Boyardee, even though she hasn't eaten that since the early 90s, and she's sure it will live in my pantry until the zombie apocalypse. A bag of potatoes for a woman who doesn't eat potatoes. Not 1, but 3 tubs of hummus, even though no one likes it in her house. A well-prepared person bought 5 different types of juices in case I need a mimosa bar. And one shopper found there was no toilet paper, so I got wine and donuts. So what are you hoarding right now? I don't think we're hoarding anything. Okay, if I'm hoarding anything, and this started, before the crisis, I have a chest freezer in the garage, and I always keep it stocked. I was yelled at in the summer because the thing was filled to the top. We don't really eat meat in our house. My wife's been a vegan. It's well documented on the show for 20-some-odd years. I only eat meat when I go out. Chicken is all I eat. We go out to a restaurant once in a while, I'll have chicken. But I eat those meatless products now, veggie burgers and all that kind of stuff. So my freezer is stocked fully with all those meatless products, meatless meatballs and veggie burgers, because it's a form of protein. And you can make those things with rice, with pasta. They're very versatile. So we have enough food for like 2 months. So like any given night, I take a bag of these veggie burgers or these meatless meatballs or these meatless chicken breaded patties, and I make it with a potato, with a rice, with a pasta, and that's our protein. So I have a lot of those because they're versatile with different dinners. So I would say if I'm hoarding anything, that's what I'm hoarding right now. Vegan, meatless products is what I'm hoarding, folks. So that's my confession. I want to know in the comments, what are you hoarding right now to get you through these crazy times? They are crazy times. And I did buy a giant bag. It was like an $8 or $9 bag of little Reese's Pieces miniatures the other day. I don't think that's hoarding, though, because I only bought 1 bag of them. But I think that's all we're really hoarding. One other thing I'm hoarding. Pasta. I normally, in my pantry, have... Now I'm half Italian. It's well documented here on the show. I eat pasta twice a week on average. And I normally have anywhere from, I would say, 7 to 12 pounds of pasta on hand at all time. The last count, I had like 22 or 23 pounds of pasta. But that, again, when this started making the news in China, I knew this shit was going to spread. So I would say starting in mid-February, around Valentine's Day, I started increasing my shopping orders every week to like 1.5 times the amount of food because I felt like this was going to happen. So I just started planning. I didn't go out all at once like a maniac to Costco and fight people for shit. I just started increasing my normal food order a little bit each week. And now a month in, I'm pretty well stocked. But again, not everybody's paying that close attention to the news or thought this was going to happen. So I'm hoarding vegan meat products, I guess you can call them, and pasta. So what is your guilty pleasure? What are you hoarding right now? Paper towel, toilet paper, candy, wipes. What are you hoarding right now? So let us know in the comments. Does it make you a mutant? I could tell you that just because if you're out beating up people and buying cases of toilet paper, yeah, you're probably a mutant. But if you're just hoarding something you like, candy or soups or something, you're not a mutant. But these people are. That'll transition perfectly to our favorite segment.
A bunch of malarkey.
Mutant of the Week.
Now here's Charlie.
So last week we had, I wouldn't say it was a close race. It was pretty decisive, but by no means a landslide. The booty fictitious queen bee, the woman pulled over in a stolen car who claimed she was Beyonce Knowles, the diva, the pop star. She beat the Bayou Busy Bee, the guy who was driving around with license plate and tags from 1997, who said he was just too busy to get his registration renewed. It was a 62 to 38% victory. So the booty fictitious queen bee is our mutant of the week until one of these two nominees steals the crown from the queen bee. Now, where do you vote for the mutant of the week? You go to our Facebook page, A Bunch of Malarkey, or if you put it in the little search bar on Facebook, at the little @ sign, A Bunch of Malarkey Pod Show, you'll find the page. Like the page. Poll goes up every Monday now, goes right through Saturday. 5.5 full days to vote. Share the poll, tell your friends. Mutant of the Week is very important. You know, there's online voting. You don't have to go anywhere to cast your vote. You sit in the luxury of your own home, eating whatever you have stashed, whatever you're hoarding, and just click some buttons. And again, share the poll. So who do we have this week? Who's going to try and take the crown away from the booty, fictitious queen bee? Our first mutant nominee, we got to go up to New York City, where an unhinged woman dragged an oxygen tank on wheels down into a Brooklyn subway station, only to chuck the tank in front of an oncoming subway train, sparking an explosion, a video released by the police on Thursday shows. The tank thrower was acting irate as she was seen walking along train platform at the Nevin Street station in the Fort Greene section of Brooklyn about 6:20 p.m. on Tuesday. After a few moments, the unhinged woman stormed up to the lip of the platform just as the Manhattan-bound number 2 train was coming into the station and hurled the oxygen tank onto the tracks. The tank exploded as the train rolled over it, causing a temporary smoke condition, but nobody was hurt. So let's call her the oxymoron out of Brooklyn, New York. The oxymoron. And she's going to go up against our second mutant nominee, who says she can recover from anything because she's a hot girl. TikTok star Ava Louise is being ripped on social media after she posted a video of herself licking an airplane toilet seat amid the growing coronavirus pandemic. Last Saturday, Louise, who's a 22-year-old influencer from Miami, shared the now viral clip of her doing the deed which she calls the coronavirus challenge. In the clip, which she has since deleted, by the way, from TikTok, the internet personality is seen licking the toilet seat as the popular TikTok song titled It's Corona Time plays in the background. In the video, Louise wrote, "Coronavirus Challenge. Please retweet this so people can know how to properly be sanitary on the airplane," she tweeted alongside TikTok. After the video, which had over 325,000 views, it went viral. Twitter users criticized Louise in her replies. Many claimed that not only would Louise get sick, but she would get others sick as well, particularly those who are considered high risk. "It's sad that the elderly will likely die and people like this will live," a person wrote, and another added, "Nice way to get sick, dummy. There is more than COVID-19 on that toilet seat. She may want to invest in toilet paper for those horrible stomach bugs she just licked up." Not only has Louise been retweeting news stories about her, but the TikTok star also expressed in a video that she doesn't care if the internet cancels her because she is blonde, rich, and skinny. She then added, "I can recover from anything because of hot girl privilege." She also joked that she doesn't have coronavirus because she can still use her vape pen. All right, folks, so let's call her the TikTok twit. So we got the TikTok twit, someone who's licking a toilet seat in an airplane, calling it the coronavirus challenge. She's going against the oxymoron, the woman who threw an oxygen tank in front of an oncoming subway train in New York. Poll goes up Monday, ends on Saturday. Make your voices heard. So now with everyone home, well, not everyone. There are still some of you and even some of our listeners who have expressed that they still have to go to work. They're essential employees. But with many people home, their kids home, it's a strain on the family, not only not having income in certain situations, but trying to homeschool children. And there are a lot of essential employees that have no means of daycare now. Schools are closed. A lot of daycares are closed. Now, I was watching the news earlier in the week, late last week, where I saw a family featured where both of the adults were in the medical field, essential medical personnel. Now their kids are home from school. One kid was 13, the boy, and he had two younger siblings. I'm going to say 8, 9 years old and maybe 5 or 6. And the parents were telling the reporter how stressed they were because they didn't have daycare. The schools were closed. What are we going to do with our kids? We have to go to work. And I was thinking to myself, you have a fucking 13-year-old kid standing right next to you. There's your solution. He's 13. He can be home. He can watch them. Now, I thought back to my childhood. Now, the first summer, we were left alone. We were left alone during the summers, because my parents both worked. I think my sister was 12. I was 10. My brother was 8. The first summer, we were left alone. And it was for like 4 or 5 hours, 9 in the morning till like 2 in the afternoon. We weren't allowed to leave the house because my mother didn't want us playing in the street or getting hit by a car. So we were confined to the house. You talk about quarantined. We were quarantined for many summers. But, yeah, we watched MTV. We listened to music. Yeah, we didn't have computers and all that. But we kept busy, toys, whatever. My sister was in charge, so to speak. She was 12, again, 10 and 8, me and my brother. Now, it's not the most ideal situation to leave a 12 or 13-year-old in charge, but desperate times call for desperate measures, folks. Now's the time while you're home with these kids to teach them some responsibility. Have them grow a set of balls. There's no reason why a 13-year-old boy, unless he's a total fuck-up, can't watch his siblings. And I'm thinking to myself, your solution's right in front of you. You know, I know times have changed, but they've also gotten better. My mom had no idea what we were doing at home. There was no Ring doorbell cameras and cameras inside the house and Alexas and all these different gadgets. My mother would call us on her break around noon and say, are you guys still alive? Everything all right? What's going on? Now you could put cameras in your home, these Arlo, with all these different brands of cameras. You have Ring doorbells to see who's coming to your door. Give you peace of mind if you have to leave your 13-year-old in charge. So at what age do you think it's appropriate to leave a child alone? Now, there's no national law. Laws in states vary. A lot of states don't even have laws about when you can legally leave a child home alone and for how long. Really depends on the state. Again, some states it's not very clear. But a lot of parents wonder how old their children must be before they can leave them home alone for a few hours. And a lot of social workers have weighed in, and most say it's about age 12 is a good time for many parents to start trusting and leaving their child home. But every child's different, and every situation is different, so you have to really judge how ready your child is. Overall, these social workers say kids really shouldn't be home alone under the age of at least 12. That's the general consensus, 12 years old. A nationwide survey was done, polling 485 members of the National Association of Social Workers. The research asked several questions regarding what age would constitute child neglect if the kids were left on their own at home for 4 hours. Again, most states do not have laws or guidelines about when kids can be left home alone. In the scenario where there were no laws and no one got hurt, almost all of the social workers said leaving 6-year-olds home alone was neglect. 83% said leaving 8-year-olds home was neglect. 51% said leaving 10-year-olds home alone was neglect. By comparison, only 11% of social workers surveyed said leaving 12-year-olds home alone was neglect, and just 1% of these social workers said leaving a 14-year-old home alone was neglect. In another finding, social workers were more likely to consider a scenario to be child neglect for most ages if a child was injured or if there was a state law dictating when kids could legally be left alone. For instance, while 1% of respondents said leaving a 14-year-old home alone was neglect, if there was no injury and no law, that number jumped to 51% if the child was injured and if there was a law. For 12-year-olds, the number jumped from 11 to 64%. Now, national guidelines may be needed, but the definition of neglect shouldn't be dependent on whether a child is injured or if the parents are violating a law. There's a definite need for national guidelines or safety laws on child supervision to better guide parents and protect the children. When the survey asked social workers at what age it actually would be illegal to leave children home alone for 4 hours, 52% said under age 12, and about 83% said under age 10. While there's a range of opinions among parents about when it's okay to start leaving their kids home alone, every child's different, and some kids under 12 may fare okay home alone for a relatively short period of time. I think that 10 to 12-year age, personally, I think it really depends on your child and so forth. But you could start thinking about whether it's okay to leave them home or not at that age. depends a lot on your situation. You know, some of the kids may not be developmentally ready to be home alone for certain periods, or they can have health concerns that may make it being left alone a bad idea. There's really no one-size-fits-all. Really depends on your situation. But I think 12 years of age and up, for the most part, depending on how they are developmentally, it's probably okay, folks. But there might be a 12-year-old out there that might not be able to handle it. So it's hard to give an exact safe age because all the factors have to be taken into consideration. Every situation is different. But I think for the most part, 12 years old, and I think the psychologists agree. Maybe you should speak with your pediatrician about whether a particular child is ready to be home alone and for how long. It's all about maturity, risk determination. Do the children know what to do if someone comes to the door? Do they know how to call 911? Do they know how to respond to a fire or somebody breaking into the home? So those are the things to consider. But again, desperate times calls for desperate measures. And even your kids are going to have to step up to the plate, folks, especially if you're an essential worker who can't stay home, who have no other alternatives right now. A 13-year-old may have to step up. And now I'm not going to generalize generations. Again, I don't do that. Say this generation's soft, and when I was a kid, we walked up the hill both ways in the snow, and the generation before me said we had it easy, and every generation says the next one is soft. I'm not going to go that far. But I think times have really changed. I mean, to leave a 12, a 10, and an 8-year-old home alone now for 4 or 5 hours while you're at work, they'd probably be looked into by Child Protective Services, but that's what we went through. When we got a little bit older, or well, not even so much older, when we went back to school in the fall, my mother started working longer hours, so there were many days where we got home from school. We were latchkey kids. We had the key to the house, got off the bus, let ourselves in, started our homework, put on the TV, and in many cases, many days, my mother would leave us instructions on what we were making for dinner. So we would start cooking dinner, and we would have dinner just about ready or ready when my parents came home from work. We cooked. We did our own laundry. At a young age, we were... If my mother did anything right, she taught us at a young age that to be self-sufficient. Maybe it was just her being lazy and not wanting to do shit. I don't know. But it turned out okay because we all moved out at relatively young ages on our own. We were able to do things. We knew how to do laundry. We knew how to cook. We knew how to clean. We knew how to take care of ourselves. So if she did anything right, whether it was on purpose or just by her being lazy, it worked out for the better. And I think this is a time where if you're home with these kids, teach them life shit now. You know, I know they have to probably get schooled online right now, but when you have this time now with them, teach them budgeting. Teach them paying bills. Teach them the real life shit that they're going to need. Like this episode I did last year, Real World Readiness. While the schools might be teaching them about history and math and science, they're not getting these kids ready for the real world. Here's your chance, folks. Kids are home. Show them the struggles. Show them what income's coming in your house and how much the bills are. Show them yard work. Show them different things that need to be done around the house. This is your chance. This is a chance to have them step up if they're not doing so already. Take this time and use it wisely. Again, they're probably being homeschooled now, tutored, or online education, whatever your school district's doing. Maybe they're doing nothing now. This is your chance, folks. Teach them about the real world. And this is also a time now, I know it's difficult. It's uncertain right now. We can't plan anything a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now. We don't know what's going to happen. I know we're all going to get through it. We're going to get through it, folks. Might take a while, but we're going to get through it. Now, these are the times you look back on. We're not going to laugh at this, but these are the times where you can make memories by doing things with your kids, teaching them things, life lessons that they're going to remember too. I look back on natural disasters when I was a kid, snowstorms, hurricanes, even 9/11, where we were scared or where there was uncertainty. Now I look back on those times and the bonding moments I had with family, even though we laugh at some stupid things my parents did, or after 9/11, the bonding we had with our fellow neighbors and coworkers and stuff in New York. You look back on those times now, and as bad as they were, there's good memories associated with it too, because we came together There's family moments, bonding moments, even, again, sitting in a basement eating oatmeal cookies and water while the hurricane was blowing over our heads. Stupid, but it's a memory maker. Use this time to make memories. As bad as things are outside, make memories in your own house. And maybe you'll look back on this 5 years from now and say, remember when we were stuck in the house for 2 months and we did this or this happened, that was funny. These are stories the kids are going to be telling when they're older to their kids. Like in 2020, we were quarantined in the house, and my mom and dad taught me there, so we did that. Take the opportunity now to make those memories. Now, earlier in the week, I got a chance to chat on the phone with someone you know very well here on the show. She's no stranger to the show. You remember Jen. She co-hosted with me about 5 episodes. She was last summer for our anniversary episode. We talked for about a half hour. She always has an interesting perspective on things. So I'm going to play that call for you now. I hope you enjoy the back and forth. We talked about her staying home, different things that are going on with her. She has a child. I think she's 5. What she's going through, different perspective on than hearing mine. So I want you to listen to the call, enjoy it, and I'll catch you on the other side, folks. Enjoy the call. Okay, folks, she was a big part of the early success of this little thing we call A Bunch of Malarkey. She's a fan favorite and has been on the show 5 times over the last year and a half. We haven't talked to her in a while. Her name is Jen, and she joins us via phone, via quarantine from the city of Atlanta. Jen, welcome back. We've missed you.
Hi, Charlie. Thank you. I've missed you, too. You're right. I'm reporting live from the streets of Atlanta.
From the capital of the South. So first and foremost, I know everyone is going to want to know, this is the most important question. How is your inventory on toilet paper?
Well, I am sure that many of you would feel that I am walking a very crazy line because I don't have enough. But I think that my family's tushies shall be clean for the foreseeable future. We may have to ration a few squares here in a week or so, but I think we'll live.
Well, I was saying on last week's show, the whole Europe goes without toilet paper. They have the bidets. Why hasn't the bidet caught on in America?
I honestly don't know. Whenever we go over there for a visit, I love the bidets, but it never translated to putting one in our own house. We're just weird. Americans are just weird. We'd rather wipe our butts than squirt them with water. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I was saying on last week's show that you don't even have to rip up the plumbing in your house anymore. They sell these retrofitted ones that go right on your toilet, and you just get a plumber, or you can even watch a YouTube video and you can put it on yourself. I think after this whole thing is over, we may have to go that route.
We're talking about all these bills and things to stimulate the economy and keep people safe. Maybe we should pass a bill that everybody has to have a bidet.
Yeah, the bidet bill.
Quite lovely. I think if you used one, you would like it. You would be sold. You would get one.
Well, I'm saying Biden should capitalize on this because it's only one letter off. Biden, Bidet. I think this is something that he should start looking at.
Biden bidet.
Yeah. A bidet in every house.
Well, why not? I mean, Trump is making all kinds of money off of his personal holdings while he's president. So why doesn't Biden start a bidet company right now? And then
Biden bidet.
There you go.
Now, what's your take on this hoarding and toilet paper insanity? Have you gone to any stores and been in this struggle or seen this live in person, or have you just seen it on the TV?
I haven't even seen it on the TV because I refuse to watch. I'm just getting all my news from, online and articles. But no, I unfortunately, I work in the courts, and the courts are mostly closed, but we're still having hearings and emergencies, and I didn't get to go anywhere to shop until Sunday, I think. And then I went into Costco, and it was actually quite lovely.
Really? It wasn't crazy?
No, there was hardly anybody in there. I didn't need toilet paper, so I didn't even go back to that section of the store. But everything else was great. They were fully stocked with food and all necessities, and I didn't even have to wait in line.
Wow. Now, I haven't been to a store either. How have you been getting most of your supplies and food? Have you been doing it online, or you've been actually going, other than the Costco run? Have you been going to stores, or you've been ordering online? How you guys been adjusting to that?
Well, with Costco helped because I bought, everything's in bulk there. So
Right.
We're using Amazon, which is wonderful. And then for a long time, we've been doing one of those meal delivery services where they send the ingredients.
Right.
It ourselves. And that's still going. So we're fine food-wise.
Yeah, I haven't left the house in about 2 weeks. My wife finally got permission from the government to work from home, so that's good. She had to run out to the vet to get Bernie's not doing well again, our dog, so we needed medicine for him, but it was just an in and out type of thing. So we've been pretty much quarantined here as well. So we haven't killed each other yet, so that's good.
Yeah, that's actually quite amazing. You might have to, you and Jen might have to do like marital counseling when this is all done.
Well, I think we have enough square footage to keep some separation, so I think the square footage will save the marriage.
But there you go. That's your tagline. Square footage saves a marriage.
No.
I did not have that same luxury being in a small bedroom condo with a husband and a child. And I will tell you, 4 days in, Hubs' life is hanging in the balance. He's in some real danger.
Now, let me ask you something. Is there, well, you said the courts are closed. Those motherfuckers would still have me at that parking lot, I think.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
I was thinking of that.
I see you with your little face mask on and your gloves and your squirt bottle of bleach. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. They would. I know. I was thinking of that the other day. I'm like, those motherfuckers would have me in that little booth with everybody sneezing and coughing on me. I would have been coroned already.
Yeah. And on top of it, from everybody that came over, you'd have to hear, please, it's an emergency. Please save me. I can't pay for parking. Oh, they would definitely have you out there.
Now, I got to ask you an honest question. Is there anything that you've hoarded, whether it be cheese, something you really like? Is there anything you hoarded a little bit of during this whole thing?
I did buy a lot of cheese. I bought 2 of those trays of cheese slices from Costco, as well as like 10 pounds of provolone. I think that's what I've hoarded most of, cheese.
I figured you would hoard cheese. I said I have to ask her what she hoarded. I think everybody's hoarded something. So
cheese, and then we've also hoarded frozen pancakes because my daughter eats those like there's no I'm saying like there's no tomorrow. So I have about 5 packages of frozen pancakes in my freezer right now.
Well, I'm not going to tell you on the air. I'll tell you off the air. But I cracked the code with Amazon Fresh. And you go on there and they're 3 days out, no delivery slot times. I cracked the code on how to get all the slot times you want anytime you want.
Oh,
yeah, I cracked the code. It was very scientific. I sat up doing all kinds of formulas. After all, it's almost Pi Day, so I figured in the spirit of Pi Day tomorrow, I cracked the code on how to get slot times. I'm not going to tell 10,000 people or 12,000 people that listen every week because then I won't get my fucking groceries. But I did crack the code, and I will share that with you off the air. But I'm nothing but Amazon Prime. Now, I bought a chest freezer. You know those giant freezers that people put in garages or basements?
Yeah.
Bought one of those in the summer.
For bodies?
Yeah, for bodies. Oh, yeah. Jen might wind up in there. But I bought one of those in the summer, and I got kind of mocked by my friends and my wife, and that thing is full to the top now. So I shouldn't say that because I'll probably get robbed overnight for my frozen pizzas, but that thing is stocked to the top, and I haven't, my pantry you can't even get in because there's so much stuff. And it's not because I've been hoarding. I've been doing, like when this started taking shape in February, I started ordering like 1.5 times the amount of groceries I normally do because I felt some shit was going down, I felt, you know? So I just gradually started building up the stock, and now I'm maxed out. I actually had to cancel an order today because I have no more room.
I'm just really impressed. Like, I guess I'm just one of those people that while all of this was growing and mounting, I just didn't ever see it coming to this. You know what I mean? Like, I was completely shocked last week when, the orders started coming out from the Supreme Court and what have you saying, like, we're closing everything. And I was like, what the heck? And then I heard that Brookhaven closed all its restaurants and everything.
Yeah.
And it took me by surprise.
Well,
so
I think
not hoarding and stocking up.
Thanks to this podcast, to be honest with you, because I was doing little funny stories from China about people, some guy guy tried to set himself on fire because the Chinese government wouldn't let him have his birthday party like a month ago, and he was almost like a mutant. So I think doing research for this podcast really made me realize that shit's going to go down soon. So I just started ordering. So maybe you got to start a podcast.
Or maybe I can just take the lazy way out and my family can move into all your square footage.
Sure. Hey, listen, you guys were always welcome here if shit was to go down in the city.
I have been fattening up my miniature wiener dog in case of an emergency. I keep telling him, like, we're going to start giving you massages and feeding you beer, and you're going to be our Wagyu dachshund if shit really hits the fan.
That's funny. So let me ask you something. You grew up in Florida where there's hurricanes, Hurricane Andrew, all these crazy storms. Where would you rank this on things you've gone through in your life?
This is way crazier because at least with a hurricane, those things are very short-lived. You know, like
Right.
they'd freak us all out. We'd all go out, board up our windows, buy a ton of crap, lock ourselves in our houses, and within 3 hours or 24 hours at the most, they'd be like, okay, yeah, it's not hitting us, or it's
Right.
gone.
Yeah, and you knew when it was going to end. You kind of knew when civilization was going to here. You have no idea.
Right, and you also knew that you kind of knew what was going to happen. Like here, this is just, I mean, insane. Everything is shutting down. I've never
Yeah.
seen anything this mass scale before, and also people's reactions to it is just. I maybe because of social media and we get to see what
Right.
all these idiots out there are thinking, but that's also shocking to me too. I'm like, Jesus, we're on an ark full of idiots, and who's going to stop us from going down? Because the idiots far outnumber the sane people.
But I have to say, I am happy this is happening at an age where I have control over my own life. Could you picture this happening? Seriously, we tell crazy stories about us growing up. I can't picture this happening in like 1984 where my mom was in control. This is a woman who, when we had a giant hurricane headed towards us, lost power for 9 days. Our rations were oatmeal cookies and a gallon of water. I could just imagine going home, telling my mom the school nurse tested me and I have coronavirus, and she would have said, she's in cahoots with this hand sanitizer company. She's just looking for a kickback like she did with my eyeglasses. I'm glad I'm in control right now and not my parents.
Put some tussin on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she would have Vicks Vapor rubbed my entire body, a little tussin, and some Campbell's condensed chicken noodle soup, and she would have said, walk it off.
My mother probably would have been breathing a sigh of relief that I was locked in the house because she was convinced that I was out sleeping around and
carousing.
Yeah, exactly.
And those Luden's cough drops, we would have been eating those by the box. Even when you weren't sick, you were an addict to those Luden. Remember those Luden's cough drops?
They did nothing.
No.
Even when you had a cough, they didn't help your cough because all they were candy.
It was just candy in a box.
So your mom was like, here, take these Ludens. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad this is I'm not glad it's happening, but if it was to happen, I'm glad it's happening as an adult where I can strategize and make decisions. And I would not want to be under my mom's command during this crisis.
Yeah, and just physically trapped in a house with my mother during this crisis. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, my mom thinks it's business as usual. I'm talking to my brother, and she's calling up crying that Publix doesn't have a rotisserie chicken. Like, that's the top priority of Publix now, to spin a few chickens on the rotisserie. So she thinks it's business as usual, complaining that certain products aren't in stock. This is the time where you eat what you can get. It's not what you want anymore. It's whatever the hell you can get your hands on.
Exactly. And I have a feeling that they might be out of rotisserie chickens, but I'm sure they have frozen ones like 3 aisles down. Just cook it yourself.
No, she's saying they have no chicken, calling my brother up crying every day that they don't have this, they don't have that. And he's like, well, how many how many toilet paper rolls do you have right now? She lives alone. She says she has 18. Do you know how big of a supply that is? 18 rolls for one person.
I don't know. Is it a lot? Because the way people are acting, that seems like that wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, for one person, say she, and this is a lot, goes through 2 rolls a week. She's good for a couple of months.
Okay.
If you do the math that way. By the average roll sheets people use per bathroom visit.
I have never, that's another new thing. Who has ever thought about the average sheets per poop?
No, I just spin that roll. Yeah, I don't think about it.
Yeah, it's, I have elderly parents, and they seem to be pretty much going on as business as usual. And I guess that's a good thing, because I'd rather that maybe than my mother calling me every 5 minutes, panicking and screaming, we're all going to die.
Right.
I don't know. And also they're so far removed in Florida that it's kind of like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to yell at her to stay inside and stop bitching about no chicken. Okay, whatever.
Now, would you still, now the restaurants are doing takeout only now. We stopped getting takeout or any type of going to restaurants about 3 weeks ago. I said to my wife, I don't think it's safe now. Would you still get takeout from a restaurant?
So I am ashamed to say that the last takeout that we got was Monday.
Okay. That's all right. It's not that long ago.
And the last restaurant we went to was last week.
Okay.
But no, I don't think I would. I think we have enough food now. I definitely am not going to a restaurant.
No.
Unless we were really hard pressed, no. But then that balances out with the tension that I want to help these mom and pop businesses that are struggling. So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, you want to help, but I think the way to help is to buy gift cards, maybe if they sell them to the restaurants, and then use it at a later time instead of worrying about maybe somebody working there that's sick and getting you sick.
That's a great idea, Charlie. You have really thought this out and have some good plans.
Yeah, I would buy gift cards, or when this is all over, when we all get our Trump checks, everybody maybe tip the waitresses and waiters, really match the bill or something when this is all over to try and make up for it, or do things like that. I don't know. I don't want to discourage people from frequenting takeout businesses, but for me personally, I just wouldn't do it right now.
Yeah, it's just better to stay away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just easier than worrying about it the whole time. So that's where I am right now, too.
So I also saw...
if my kid starts screaming about pizza or chicken nuggets or something from McDonald's, I think I will be calling DoorDash or something.
So I saw on the news the other night. Now, this rubbed me the wrong way. It was about a family. Both the parents are essential workers. I think they were in the hospital, business, a medical professional, and something else where they had to go to work. And they were walking in the park telling the newsman about how they have no daycare for their kids now because the daycare center is closed. And one of the kids was as tall as the mom. He was 13 or 14. Then the other kid was 7 or 8, and one was 5. We were already staying home alone at that age. I'm saying to myself, these kids, not only do the parents have to make adjustments, but these kids have to start growing a set of balls. If you're 13 and your parents have to go to work, you need to step up and watch your siblings.
Amen to that. I keep having, my child's 5, and I keep having conversations with her. Are you sure you can't stay home alone for a few hours?
Right.
Mommy can go, work somewhere else or do something else.
No, I think
that's ridiculous.
I think we started staying home alone for 4 hours at a time in the summer of 81. I think it was 80. So my sister was 12, I was 10, and my brother was 8, and we would stay home 4 or 5 hours. Now, and what's different now, Jen, too, is you have all this technology. You have Ring doorbells with cameras on them. You have cameras in your house, or you can get them so you can watch. Back then, my mother would call us on her break at the supermarket and say, did you kill each other over there? How's everything going? Now you can actually watch your kids through the smartphone. So there is technology to monitor them if you have to leave them alone.
Yeah. I would say having a 13-year-old at your disposal and bitching about daycare is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And just like you, I'm pretty sure that I think my mom was still home in the afternoons when I was in elementary school, but I rode my bike back and forth to school all through elementary school, all by myself. And then once I hit middle school, which would have been 86, 85, somewhere in there, I was a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't even call to check on us. I think my mom, the only thing she cared about was that when we got home, we had to call her by a certain time to let her know that
you weren't abducted.
Yeah, exactly. And then we didn't hear from her again until she walked in the door.
Right.
Yeah, kids really need to.
Yeah, it's a time now where
up.
this should be not only homeschooling time, like this should be training time of like how to deal with reality and different things like this. This should be the training time that parents have available to them now if they're home too, to really like make their kids grow with that. I really believe that.
Yeah, and not only that, but entertain yourself. Life doesn't have to be full of TV shows and movies and me dancing the jig to keep you from being bored. Like, find something to do on your own.
Yeah. Oh, my mother would just open the back door, let us in the yard, lock the door, and then basically say, if you're totally dehydrated and can't breathe, then come knock on the door, I'll give you a cup of lemonade. On days she was home, she would just lock us out.
But quite honestly, it didn't matter if she locked the door, right? You
No.
were coming back in anyway.
We were having fun out there. It's like a different time.
Yeah.
So how old, like if your daughter was 12 right now, you would be fine leaving her for a couple hours if you had to run out for something for work or do something?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think like 12 is a good age.
Yeah. I mean, I go, so she's 5 and we live in a high-rise condo. And as it stands now, if I need to take the dog out and she's giving me a hard time about it and she doesn't want to go, I say, okay, I'll be back in 10 minutes. And I leave her up there. She knows the rules. She stays right where she is and plays with whatever she's playing with. And I'll be back.
Yeah. So other than going to Costco and where else have you ventured out, or you really haven't? You've been basically home now.
Yeah, I had court on Tuesday, so I had a court hearing Tuesday morning.
Was it like a ghost town there?
Actually, no, it wasn't, because, emergency cases are those in which somebody is either a kid is being locked up for an alleged crime or a parent has had their child removed. And so on that day that I was in there, one of the judges had a huge delinquency calendar, and there were quite a few families in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you needed like total decontamination after the day?
No, but at the same time, like when I got home, like I started freaking out that I'm bringing home the coronavirus to my daughter and I'm going to sicken her. But more I was angry. I was just angry, which is stupid. Yeah. But I was angry that any of us had to be there at all.
Right.
Like angry at, can't you just stop for 5 seconds, like breaking into cars?
Yeah.
Also, can't you stop, like, smoking meth in front of your kid just long enough for us to all get through this?
Just till we get through the corona. Then you can resume doing whatever the hell you were doing before.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree. And I'm telling you,
Get your shit together, people.
I'm thankful every day because I know if this was 2 years ago, I would have been in that booth. I would have been corona'd already. There's no question about
it.
Yes,
and Jen would have made you live there. You wouldn't have been allowed back in the house.
Definitely.
You had to put a cot down in there.
I would have been peeing in those travel johns again.
We're already going to have a panini maker, right?
Yes.
Sell sandwiches to the people that were coming up, so we at least have food.
So what is your best advice to the listeners out there that are stuck at home, not used to working from home, that maybe have kids? Like, what's your best advice?
Oh, God.
Different perspective than mine. People heard my advice.
I just think that at this time you got to do whatever it takes to maintain your sanity. Like, screw the rules about, as a parent, you should do this or you should do that. Man, if your kid only wants to eat Lucky Charms all day today, and that's what's going to keep you from, jumping out of your second floor window, feed your kid Lucky Charms.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do what you got to do to get by, but also stay the hell away from me and everybody.
I think limiting the news, I think everyone should keep informed on what's going on, but I found that if I limit myself to an hour of news in the morning, then pop it on in the afternoon for an hour, and then the evening, I'm much better mentally than sitting watching CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever channel leanings you have. I think limiting the amount of news really helps mentally, putting on music and keeping busy that way. Yeah,
and stay away from the social media. Oh, my God.
Yes.
That's what's triggering me the most, I think, is seeing these stupid stupid posts that this is all a big conspiracy by liberals to keep Trump from being reelected. And I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a guru somewhere back behind a curtain who sent out all his minions to convince world leaders to shut down their entire society so we can make sure Trump doesn't get reelected.
Well, I saw a girl on my Facebook who's a nurse. She posted something that some Harvard professor got arrested because he smuggled the virus into China and started the whole thing. Now, I went to factcheck.org, and it said that this whole thing's going around. It's a fake thing. So I posted the link to fact check on her post and said, you may want to take that down and not spread misinformation. Now, keep in mind, this girl is a nurse. This woman is a nurse. And she replied, doesn't matter what you post, I believe it. In other words, she believes her meme over fact check, who actually checked this thing. And then like 10 other people shared her post. So this is how shit spreads. Misinformation spreads.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's really shocking. I mean, worst case scenario, let's say that you do believe this is a bunch of crap and it's all fake. But you don't know for sure, right? So why don't you err on the side of caution?
Right.
And at least keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when this all is over and done with, people are going to be savage when these people that were talking about conspiracies come back up and they're like, oh, I guess I was wrong. You're wrong?
It's kind of like the conspiracy hoax about global warming. Let's just say it is a hoax, that all the scientists got together and it's a big hoax. What's the worst that could come out of it if we take measures to save the planet? A cleaner place to live? Like, yeah. There's no bad result by taking it seriously.
You produce less garbage. I mean, right, exactly. Like, just, it's just this new thing with the checks too is driving me nuts. Like all these people talking about if you don't support Trump, then you should return a check. And I'm like, if you do support Trump, you should return the check because it's socialism at its finest. Right.
No, I agree. And I think the checks, we talked about this last night, like we still have an income in the house. We don't need the check. I'd rather see the money go to people who don't have a job right now, got laid off in retail or in the restaurant business or jobs that are gone right now until this is over. I'd rather see the money go to help them than a family with an income still coming in. And I said to Jen, we don't need it,
Yeah, and when it's funny, like when people come back at these folks about like, well, you should be denying the check. The responses are like, oh no, I'm going to take it and I'm going to invest in this down market. I'm like, okay, privileged white people, like this is just disgusting. Reading this stuff, like you're willing to let poor people starve in the best of times, but you'll take your handout. So I guess handouts are only okay when you're getting one.
Right. So do you think that all this misinformation has surprised you the most from the whole situation? Is that what is the most shocking thing you've taken away so far? And we're not even halfway through this, I don't think. But so far, what's the most shocking thing to you that you said, I can't believe? The virus in it of itself is shocking, but I'm saying how the behavior of people. What do you think has been the most shocking to you?
I think the conspiracy theorists are the most shocking.
Yeah.
The ones that can look at this, the whole picture of what's going on and somehow still believe that this is all being manufactured by American media and American interests for some nefarious purpose. Like, it's just mind-blowing to me. I mean, so Navy SEALs, right, are some of the most elite warriors trained on the face of the earth.
Right.
And they're sworn to secrecy, and they're taught how to hold up under torture and not divulge any information. Those motherfuckers went over there and assassinated Osama bin Laden and then came back, and that group of 6 people couldn't even keep quiet. They were publishing books
within
3 months of his death. So how anybody thinks that the millions of people it would take to perpetrate a conspiracy like this would all be quiet, do exactly what they're supposed to do. It's just, it blows my mind.
Yeah, I did a whole show on these. Yeah, I did a whole show on these conspiracy kooks like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm going to have to do a follow-up show when this is all over and add it to the list.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see how what goes on in someone's brain that allows them to And not only believe it, but believe it to the extent that they are blocking out all other information and are just like, I'm doing whatever the hell I want to because all of this is fake.
Yeah, do you see those spring break kids this week on the news? They were interviewed and the kid goes, I get corona.
Yeah, I mean, we've already in juvenile court have had parents saying, I can't do this because I have coronavirus, using it as an excuse, or, other parents just carrying on anyway with what they're it's insane.
Now, how long do you think this is going to last? Now, it's going to be 80 degrees here in Atlanta, and according to some people, the heat's going to kill it, so we may be clear by the end of the day.
I would really love for that to be the case, because with the heat in Atlanta comes the pollen, and pretty soon we're all going to have coronavirus symptoms anyway.
Right. No,
it's really just allergies.
I think, I don't know. Like, that's the unknown is what bothers me the most. Like, you can't plan a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, a month ahead. Your life is pretty much on hold, and you got to say this is the new reality until something happens. But I think we're at least 2 weeks away from even knowing, like, if the isolation by the most of us is working, and then we'll take it from there. So we're looking well into April, I think, at the earliest, and probably maybe into the summer. I don't know, but I don't know if I'm going to make it till summer.
Well, that's part of the problem, with these people not just staying home. Right. All of the all my friends that are in the medical profession and are talking about this are saying, like, a hard reset is just the way to go. Everything shuts down for 30 days.
Yeah.
That should get a hold of it, and then we'll evaluate from there. But we're Americans, we're stubborn. We love our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We don't want to be told what to do. So
people can't make a short-term sacrifice anymore.
Correct. So how are we, there's not a real hard reset happening. So I think that's what's going to drag it out is...
I think people need to look at this like, as bad of a time as this is, people that are home with their families, working from home, these are like time to kind of make memories in a way. Like, this is something that you're going to look back on when we're older. And I don't have kids, but you have a daughter and people with children, and say, remember that time we were quarantined for 2 months, and talk about all the funny things that happened inside the house. These are the times where, as bad as they are memory-making times in a way, because think of all the things we've been through. I've been through the hurricane, no power for 10 days, vast amount of blizzards, 9/11, and you look back at certain things that happened during those times, like the bonding moments you had with people and your family, and the funny things that have happened, and you look back on these things and say, you got through it. And I think people have to look at it like that. These are like kind of memory-making times as well as, tough times, but they're memory-making times that you can turn it into.
But also, if you suck it up and you make your memories now, you'll have 30 days of making memory time as opposed to 6 months.
Right. No, I'm saying making memories like within your own house, silly things that are going on within your own house that you look back on and say, we were trapped together for a month. Remember that? Yeah.
Here's Celine. Here's the picture of Mommy strangling Daddy. And then here's a picture of Mommy trying to stick her head in the oven. Remember that? That's funny.
Are you finding it tough, though? Like, is it just because you're used to being out more? It's not obviously that you dislike your family. It's obvious, but most people don't. But is it just the close quarters? Is that what's bothering you?
Well, it's just it's not even the close quarters. I don't even know how to explain it. The child needs, I give all new props to daycare workers and teachers because it's constant going.
Right.
Like, we have to do schoolwork, and then we have to run around, and we have to play outside, and we have to do this, and we have to do that. There's not a moment to take a breath and have a quiet thought to yourself.
Yeah.
Because, and at 5 o'clock, I'm exhausted. I feel like I have run a marathon,
right.
And my child is still like, let's go, let's make cookies, let's jump over bed. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, That's what's the hardest for me. Like, not one, I pray for her to go to sleep just so I can have a moment to myself. And it's not like she's being a brat or acting out or anything. She's just a kid.
You may have to take her to like a wide open park or field and just run her out for a couple hours until she can't walk. You have to carry her home when she's out for the day.
We've tried that shit. We have walked her all over downtown Atlanta. She's riding her bike. My friend upstairs has a little mini tramp. We put her on that, and she bounces her brains out, and still, it's like 9:30, and she's not even tired.
It's the Lucky Charms.
Or the pancakes, or, we're learning how to bake, so we have brownies and cookies and all kinds of baked goods in the house. Everything. I'm definitely going to need a nap when this whole thing is over.
Well, I hope that you will stay in touch, and maybe we'll follow up with you in a week or two. I'm sure the listeners are glad to hear another familiar voice besides my own. I've said if I need anyone right now to speak to, it's Jen, because she gives me comic relief. She gives the audience comic relief. So I really appreciate you taking time out from the craziness going on inside the four walls of your apartment and spend a little time with me.
Diversion too, I tell you what. And I'm also glad to know that you are fully stocked, because when it gets bad, we're just going to show up at your house.
When the shit goes down, I'll see your car pull up.
We'll be in your truck.
Well, we've got plenty of room. You're always welcome here. I do have quiches, so...
I bought large quiches. That's one thing that's weird about me in an emergency. I looked at the mini quiches and I was like, that's not very practical. So I'm going to buy the 4-pack of giant quiches.
But the only thing is, when you bake one of the big ones, you kind of have to use it within a couple of days.
Yeah, we'll make that happen.
Yeah, I've noticed that before we go, that even though I'm stocked, not that I'm mentally rationing, but like, I don't know if I've just not been as hungry. Like, I'll go like hours and hours in between, like, between meals and snacks and stuff. Like, I haven't really had the urge to eat. I guess with all the stress in my mind about this whole thing of, like, I don't know. I haven't been eating like I normally do.
Yeah, I wish I could say.
Which I thought, being stuck in the house, I would eat more, but I'm actually eating less.
Yeah, I don't have that. Not at all.
Thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story, and I'm sure the listeners are glad to hear from you. And you're a big star on the show, and and we'll touch base with you. We'll touch base with you soon. Okay?
Yes, sir. I hope Bernie is feeling better.
I hope so too. Yeah, it's another stress we needed while we're quarantined.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jen. Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. So a big thank you for Jen, who took time out of her busy schedule, little craziness going on, as many of you are experiencing and probably can relate to what she's going through. Thank you for spending the time. I'm sure the listeners enjoyed hearing your voice and finding out how you're doing through all of this. So thank you. Thank you for coming on. Now, where are we found, folks? Now, we are all over the place now. We're on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Radio Public, Radio.com, Stitcher, CastBox, YouTube, Deezer, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Overcast, or on your Echo device, just say, Alexa, play the podcast A Bunch of Malarkey, and she will play the most recent episode. How do you get in touch with us? We like to hear from you, especially through these times. Email me. Let me know how you're doing. A Bunch of Malarkey podshow at gmail.com. A Bunch of Malarkey at gmail.com. Leave a voicemail for me. Tell us your first name, where you're calling from. 706-406-8212. 706-406-8212. Call it. Let me know how you're doing. Or you can always let us know in the comments on Facebook. You know where we are, A Bunch of Malarkey on Facebook, at Malarkey Pod Show on Twitter, A Bunch of Malarkey Podcast on Instagram. A lot of ways that you could private message me on Facebook, and I will get back to you. Really concerned about all of you, and I thank you all again for tuning in every week. But it goes beyond just, thank you for listening at this point. I concerned, especially about the core listeners who respond every week and vote. And I feel like I know you guys without knowing you. A lot of you I do know. You're my friends and people I've known from the past. But there are a lot of listeners out there who come on who I don't know. But I feel like I know you because you comment and you vote and you participate in the show every week. So I worry about all of you guys, especially what we're going through right now. People I've known for a long time since my childhood, people I've worked with, people I've family members, friends, and again, people I don't know personally but know through the show. So I'm thinking about you guys, and just check in, let me know how you're doing. Message, call, again, just comment in the comment section when I post up the show or some questions. I'll be checking in with you all again this week. But I'm thinking about all of you. Again, excuse the rant at the beginning of the show. Again, I'm sure many of you are doing the right thing. But those of you who aren't, the only way we're going to end this, the only way is if everybody just follows the rules, stays home if they can, and we'll get through this. And for those of you who are suffering right now without an income and things are tough on you, I sympathize. I grew up in a family where we struggled every week, paycheck to paycheck. I get it. I totally get it. And we're all thinking about you. And hopefully relief is on the way. And hopefully we will all get back to normal at some point in the very near future. So I'm thinking about everybody. I'm wishing the best for everybody. Just stay safe. Be smart. Look out for each other. Again, like I said last week, look out for your older neighbors and relatives and keep your distance, but see if they need anything. If you can get supplies at the store, think about them. We're going to get through it. Again, these are times where we're going to look back on 5 years from now. We're probably not going to laugh because it's really not funny. I know we make light of it with the toilet paper jokes and, humor is good. But these are times we'll look back on and say, remember when we got through this? And these little memories are what's going to stand out the most. Maybe helping someone or the little bonding times you had with your family in the house and, all these little things. You're going to look back and say, we got through it and memories were made and we're stronger for it. And we'll be prepared if something happens like this again in the future. So, folks, even if you're sitting in your house with your family locked in close quarters, you still have to beware because it's a shit show out there and probably in there as well. So take care of yourselves, everybody. Have a great week. I know it's not normal, but try to have a great week anyway. And we'll be back next week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll catch you next week, all right? Take care, everybody.